久しぶりみんな. This is assuming, of course, you only watch my channel for low-budget gaming and not any of my other projects like, say, my Let's Plays. And if you do, then, you know, that's cool. Not judging. Anyway, in case you haven't heard the news, it's a new year, and low-budget gaming is back after a little bit of a break. And over the course of the hiatus, and even a little bit before, I've been working on a little something to replace the dry erase intro that I've been using up till now. Hope you enjoy it. I know my wrists certainly will. Mina! Mite kudasai! Konnichiwa mina! Orewa Jiminai! Years ago, I was walking around the local GameStop, although it might have been at Babbage's back then, when I came across an RPG that looked rather interesting. Now, since having played it back then, I don't really remember much about it other than outright hating it, and as a result avoiding it and anything by that publisher like the plague. Well, I recently happened to find it again on Steam, and thinking back on my initial experience, I couldn't really remember just why I hated it so much. So, I decided to refresh my memory. それでは、始めましょう.
First, a little backstory. The world of Septerra is divided into 7 vertically layered floating continents known as shells. These shells float above the core, a gigantic computer. Once every 100 years, the shells combine and orbit the core at the same level. It is during this period that, if one is in possession of relics known as keys, one can unlock the massive power of the core, to do with as they will for good or evil. As the game begins, the next occurrence of this event, known as a conjunction, is still another 50 years out, and the keys are in the possession of the Chosen, residents of the highest shell, and descendants of Marduk, son of the planet's creator. Now, most of the Chosen seem to want to hold on to the keys for future generations, presumably those in charge when the next conjunction hits. But Daskius, a direct descendant of Marduk, believes that Marduk prophesied that a person of Marduk's bloodline will use the conjunction to rise to power. As such, he's getting just a tad bit impatient, and he thinks it would really be great if the conjunction could happen, oh, I don't know, like right about now, and has decided to do everything in his power to have that come to pass, and never mind the fact that it could just possibly destroy the world.
Now, I'm going to do something a little different here and just cut to the chase. I played this game to refresh my memory on it and see if it was really as bad as I remembered it. The good news is it was not as bad as I remembered it. The bad news, it still wasn't that great.
You play as Maya, a junk scavenger who lives on World Shell 2, just below that of the Chosen. Someone has been smuggling weapons to people on the other shells, and your house is suddenly searched for the guilty party. You set off in an attempt to clear things up and find who's actually responsible for the smuggling, and slowly but surely, you become embroiled in Daskius' dealings. Controlling Maya couldn't be simpler. Actually, I take that back, it could be. In theory, you click and hold the mouse button to have Maya walk in the direction of your cursor, and double-click and hold to run. But my experience of Maya actually running when I double-click is very 50-50. The cursor is normally an arrow, but it automatically changes to different icons when hovering over something you can interact with, such as an eye for looking at something and a quote bubble for talking. Hovering the mouse in the dark area at the bottom of the screen will bring up items you can use, as well as a button for the equip screen. Let's move on to combat, which is a very slow process. Similar to games like Chrono Trigger, each character in your party has an action meter, known in this game as the endurance bar. The bar is divided into thirds, and characters must have at least 1/3 of their endurance bar filled before you can do anything with them. The speed at which the endurance bar fills varies with each character, and doesn't seem to be directly affected by any character attributes, at least not according to the manual. Also, whenever an enemy attacks one of your characters, the fill progress for all characters is interrupted. Now, once a character is active, you can attack, using either a weapon skill or magic, use an item, or try to run away, but be warned, if your attempt to run away fails, every party member's endurance bar is reset. I really don't see why that should be necessary. Nor, for that matter, do I see the point in having all characters' endurance bars freeze if just one character is getting attacked. Sure, freeze the bar of the character getting attacked, I can understand that. Heck, for a little more challenge, maybe even knock it back a little bit if the attack hits. But why do all characters have to be affected? Also, why does a character's endurance bar have to be active if I just want to use an item? Surely it doesn't take that much endurance or stamina or agility or whatever else you want to call it to take a slice of bread out of my pack and eat it. Weapon skills, at least in the early part of the game, appear to basically be weak, medium, and strong variants of the same attack. Obviously, the stronger the attack, the fuller the attacking party member's endurance bar will need to be. Magic is performed via the use of fate cards and core energy, a pool of magic energy from which every party member draws. Each fate card can only be used one at a time by any magic-using party member, but you can combine cards by having two or all three characters use different cards for even more powerful spells. I don't know if I like the idea of having a shared mana pool. Now, granted, my gaming experience is not as vast as I'd like it to be at this point, but I can't really think of any other game I've played, or at least any other RPG, that used that mechanic. So, while it might be unique of course doesn't always mean good. Some other quick notes. The game is voice acted, and the voice acting is okay at best, at least what I'm able to hear of it. Quite often a character will be cut off in the middle of speaking. Now, I'd love to be able to try and fix this by, say, fiddling with the audio, or maybe disabling it and having subtitles only, but, well, have a look at the options menu. Yeah, not that much there. And by the way, no, you're not going crazy. That is a new game button in the options menu. A little bit weird, especially considering it's right here in the main menu as well. Lastly, there are shops in the various towns in the game, but I've only been to 2 towns so far, and the shops in both seem to have exactly the same items. Not really a good sign for variety. Interestingly, though, you can attempt to steal items or coins from a store if you have a character in your party like Runner here. But if you're unsuccessful, you'll get caught and kicked out of the store. Don't worry, though, you can go right back in. Once you're caught stealing in a store, however, the option to steal from that store will no longer be available. And if you're caught enough times, prices in all stores in the town will rise temporarily. So to wrap up, at its core, pun intended, Septerra Core seems to be a semi-unique RPG with an interesting story. But issues with it, both technical and with mechanics, make it a very slow-paced game, probably slower than it needs to be, and it'll certainly take a great deal of patience to get through it. Having played it again for the first time in years, I can definitely say I don't hate it as much as my younger self did, but I can see where my younger self was coming from, and I probably won't be playing it again anytime soon.
If you want to give it a try, however, you can get it on Steam and GOG.com for $5 or $6, depending on where you want to get it. And I'll leave links to both the pages in the description below the video. Well, thanks as always for watching, and hey, hope you like the new intro. I worked for quite a bit on that. Let me know what you think about that, and please consider liking and sharing the video if you like it and, indeed, want to share it. Jikai made! Sayonara!